Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's episode of Intuitive Angling. And man, I really appreciate you guys making some time out of your day to spend with me on the video. We're gonna have a fun video for y'all today. We're gonna be talking about why I call that certain segment of bass anglers out there flat brimmers. A lot of you guys that watch the channel, when I do my anti-technology videos, I refer to a lot of these people as 20-year-old flat brimmers. And sort of want to explain to you guys what the deal is behind that, and sort of clarify it, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about my attitude surrounding that genre of anglers out there that are simply just not true. So we're going to go over that in today's video, and I'm going to tell you where the term flat brimmer came about, because it wasn't me. I'm going to tell you exactly how it came about in today's episode. Also, guys, just a couple quick housekeeping tips before we get started. Just want to thank everybody out there that's taking time to hit that subscribe button to Intuitive Angling. Really appreciate that. And also, thank you very much for everybody that's been ordering all your fishing equipment through my Tackle Warehouse link that I put in every video description. You guys are doing that to really support the channel. Much appreciated. And also, I'd like to invite one final thing, guys. Please check out my Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns that I built for Fish the Moment. Great resources to get some good places to fish this spring. So I'll include all that link in the description of this video there. Really appreciate that. Okay, and if you guys watch the channel, one of the things that really gets a lot of guys' panties in a wad is when I call them 20-year-old flat brimmers. And I wanted to have a little conversation about that. First of all, guys, have a sense of humor. When I talk about a 20-year-old flat brimmer, it's sort of I'm trying to be sort of funny, maybe a little sarcastic, but I'm trying to just be funny a little bit. I don't mean anything by it out there. And I want to explain to you what I mean and how that came about. First of all, let me explain to you where the term flat brimmer came about initially. I was at a tournament, this has been, man, probably 15 or 20 years ago, probably. And it was an FLW tournament. I can't remember which one, but there was a bunch of us standing around in the pre-tournament meeting. And I was standing next to David Dudley, David Dudley is one of my favorite all-time people and fishermen. I just love him. But anyway, it was me and David Dudley, and there's 4 or 5 other guys around there. I think Brent Erler and Brett Height was there too. And both of those guys, they were the first dudes to wear a flat brim hat. Brent Erler and Brett Height. And I remember, and I can't remember if it was Erler or Brett Height, but we were talking there, and Dudley walked up, and he looked, I think it was at Brett Height, and he goes, Height, he goes, I didn't take you for a flat brimmer like that. And I just started cracking up because nobody wore a flat brimmed hat back there. So over the course of the next few years, it didn't really catch on that much, but over the past 5 years, with a lot of college anglers and that type of stuff, they all started wearing flat brim hats, because I guess that if you look in pop culture in that age group out there, there's a lot of people in pop culture that wear flat brim hats. So I guess it's just sort of a generational thing that people like flat brim hats when they're younger. So I don't have anything against a flat brim hat. I just think it's funny. I've always thought that was funny since Dudley initially said that. So given that a little bit, let's talk a little bit about the whole the whole vibe around why I call them flat brimmers, 20-year-old flat brimmers. First of all, guys, I love young anglers. I understand fully what it's like to be young and full of the vigor of life and cocky, because I was there, guys. When I was in my early 20s and fishing the Bassmaster circuit, I had a ponytail and I wore an ankle bracelet, which was completely, unacceptable at the time. So I understand when you're in your 20s, and you're younger, people want to draw attention to themselves and they posture a little bit. And that's what a lot of it behind the flat brim hat is because the flat brim hat, from a perspective of keeping the sun off your eyes or something, there's no benefit to it. So it's sort of a thing that's done for looks a little bit. It's like the kids today that buy those $200 tennis shoes. You do that when you're young. It's like you want to draw attention to yourself. That's why the younger guys drive pickup trucks with 6-inch lift kits on them and these obnoxiously loud aftermarket, exhaust systems. But as you get older and you get to be, excuse me, you get to be an old crusty geezer like myself, which that's another label for my generation, those things are not important anymore. It's like you don't have to posture, and you don't have to just dress just right. I mean, it's just, there's other things that are more of a priority in life. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about this, the whole perspective of what the flat brimmer in 2025 represents. And to a large degree, that genre of anglers represents this, live scoping, high-tech, forward-facing sonar minnow, jig head minnow type, braid to fluorocarbon and a spinning rod generation. And what I want to say about this is this whole delineation that we have as far as, different generations of anglers. A lot of this was put into place simply because of the Bassmaster and MLF tournament rules regarding forward-facing sonar. Now let's step back for a second, and let's just pretend for a second that there wasn't a thing that let's pretend as soon as forward-facing sonar came out, probably close to 10 years ago now, it didn't have the impact that it does now, since they've had this, the advancements in the transducers. But when it first came out, let's just theorize that Bassmaster and MLF said, no, this is illegal, we're not going to allow this in our tournaments, and they went on. So imagine a world right now where there was no forward-facing sonar, but you still had this young generation of anglers out there. You would still have everything intact, everything in place. The college anglers, the high school anglers, everything would still go on, except that you wouldn't have this whole controversy surrounding forward-facing sonar and the fact of what it's done to our sport and how it's completely transformed the sport in a bad way. Prime example with this is like, the average age now of most triple A level competitors, especially like on the Bassmaster tournament circuit. I think the average age for the Bassmaster Opens this year was 24. 10 years ago, it was like 40, over 40 years old. So this technology has we has allowed this younger generation to be able to come in and dominate the tournaments without having the experience that has previously been required in tournament anglers. So in a world without forward-facing sonar, there is nothing negative to that particular world. In fact, everything would be a lot more of a positive. You'd have a lot more of a diversity of techniques out there. You'd have a lot more specialists. You'd have a lot more people that are really into the whole, area of bass movement, behavior, and seasonal patterns, and breaking down, different type of patterns, which you don't have anymore. But so I don't blame when I'm talking about young 20-year-old flat brimmers, guys. I'm not trying to diminish, or I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to discriminate them because they're a young angler. I've been there and done that. They have been forced to do that by the tournament organizations. It all falls back. I've never blamed the anglers for doing this. I always blame the tournament organizations. The tournament organizations have forced anglers in this country to either adopt that technology or be uncompetitive within the sport, which is not fair to a large segment of anglers out there due to the financial disparity and all the other issues surrounding it. But that's all for a different topic there. But the main thing, guys, I just wanted to reiterate is I wanted to tell you the story about where the whole name of the flat brimmers came from. And if you want to wear a flat brim hat, more power to you, man. I don't have anything about that, but it's just like, you can label me an old geezer, old grandpa, fisherman, whatever. That's fine. My ego's not that thin. That doesn't bother me. It's the same with being called a 20-year-old flat brimmer or just a 20-year-old cocky fisherman. I'll tell you guys a story real quick. Where the first Bassmaster Classic I ever fished, 1986, was in Chattanooga, Tennessee, down there. And at the pre-tournament meeting down there, you had to go register, the day before practice started. And I was a 23-year-old, cocky young fisherman out there, just like a lot of them are now. They're 23. And I walked in there, and there was an interview. A guy was doing an interview with me for one of the magazines out there. And I made the comment, being 23 and young and dumb, which I was, that I told him I wasn't intimidated by any of the guys that were here. And this was back when, Roland Martin and Jimmy Houston and Hank Parker and Clun and Larry Nixon and all the superstars were there at that classic. And I made this comment, in front of Larry Nixon and his wife Amy. They heard me doing this interview, and anyway, Amy apparently came up or was saying something about that Randy Blaukat is just a cocky young something. I can't remember how to put it, but anyway, she called me cocky, and I love Amy. I don't have anything against her, but she was right. It's like I was a young and cocky 23-year-old bass angler that was just, pumped full of testosterone and pumped full of ego. And that's just the way you are at 23 until somebody, until you get it tapped down a little bit with the reality of the situation. So I guess that's just part of, that's just part of the different seasons we go through in life. And being a 20-year-old flat brimmer in the world of bass fishing 2025 is just one of those little paths we go down. Regardless, guys, I'll give you a piece of advice. If you're a 20-year-old flat brimmer out there, take it from somebody like myself that used to be a cocky 20-year-old bass fisherman. Just resist forward-facing sonar, guys. Get on the right side of history here. I know that you guys think it's the way to go and it's fun and it's cool, and that if you don't do it, you're going to get left behind. But if everybody would join the bandwagon, including the 20-year-old flat brimmers, and say, we don't want this. We want to maintain the heritage and the tradition of bass fishing. We want to keep the mystery and the magic of bass fishing alive. We're concerned about the bear trauma issues and delayed mortality that forward-facing sonar is having. We just don't want it in our sport. Let's get it out. If everybody would band together, and all of the veteran pros out there that are really scared to stand up and say anything would do the same thing. And I know a lot of them, guys. I know a lot of them that bitch behind closed doors about forward-facing sonar to me, and they just don't want to do anything about it because they have a vested interest. They don't want to rock the boat. A lot of people are just scared to make a stand against it. So anyway, just a few thoughts, guys. Hope you're all well. We'll talk later.